Hey there, Juan Morales here, and in today's episode we're going to cover a concept that I believe leads to most of the frustration that people feel. And once you realize this in yourself and in others, you'll be able to really start changing the way you approach problems and, of course, the way that you get to solutions. So what happens is most people, when they're faced with a challenge, where they're faced with a situation that doesn't go their way, what they want to do is they want to change the cards they're playing with. So they look outside of themselves and they start looking at other people. Oh, if I only had the smarts that this person had. If I only had the money this other person has. If I only had the whatever thing you want to do, right? But what happens is we fixate on wanting to change the cards and wanting a new hand instead of playing the cards that we do have. And that's what creates all this frustration. Because all we think is, oh, I don't have X, and that's what I need in order to be successful. But the fact of the matter is, you may not have X, and that may be one way to achieving the goal, but you really haven't really made an inventory of what you do have in order to be able to play the cards that you do have. So imagine you're in a poker table and you're seeing, you get a bunch of, let's say, low cards, but you have, let's say, 3 threes, right? So you have a pretty good hand having 3 of a kind. I mean, it's not a monster hand, but it's a good hand. Yet you could be looking at it with, let's say the 3 threes, and you're thinking, oh, I should be having aces, or I should be having kings, or I should be having these other things. Instead of understanding that the 3 threes by themselves are actually a good hand. So, next time you're faced with this situation, next time you're faced with a challenge, and even challenges that you're facing right now, look to see if the part of yourself that is constantly talking and pointing the finger at something else and looking for blame or looking for things that are missing, you'll notice that you're way more aware of all those things than you are of what you actually have right now. Because we never make an inventory of the cards that we do have and the things that we can make happen. So let's say that the issue becomes funding, right? And you're thinking, okay, this people can make it because they have more money. Well, you may not have money right away, but have you really considered all the ways that you could generate that money? All the avenues where that money could be found? Is it possible that you could find an investor? Is it possible that you can sell a service? Is it possible that you can find a client and make that client pay for it? Is it possible that you could find a business partner that is willing to put up the capital? How many things are possible when we sit down and we want to think through all the possibilities? But the mind is not wired like that. The mind wants to get the result with the least amount of moves possible. This is a principle that comes from nature. This is about energy saving. So the first thing we do is, oh, we don't have this, X has that, that's why they're successful and I'm not. And then we want to change our cards. And it's because of this thing of least resistance. It's the easiest conclusion to lead to. Oh, they have money, I don't have money, that's why. Or I have money, they don't have money, that's why. That doesn't make sense. Because how many times have you heard the stories of these people that became successful entrepreneurs or successful business owners that came from nothing and did not have any of those leg ups? Conversely, how many times have you heard of the people that had everything and then ran the business to the ground? So it's not the resources, it's the resourcefulness, which is one of my core principles. Resourcefulness. And one of the key tenets of resourcefulness is that you have to make an inventory of what you do have so that you can get the maximum value of those things. If it just so happens that, let's say, you don't have the money to do something that you want to do, but you do have a skill to, let's say, help people. Just an easy example. Let's say that you can make websites for people. And you know how to make them. And you're not going to spend all of your life selling websites necessarily, but if you can get one client, and that client, let's say, pays you $1,000 for a website that you know how to build, and then you can grab that $1,000 and then invest it into what you wanted to do, wouldn't that get you there? Absolutely. But can we really see those paths happen when we're in that mode where we're wanting to change the cards? No. All we do in that mode is we sit down and we say, oh, I don't have the money, he has the money, therefore I can't get it. Instead, what I'm challenging you is to make an inventory of the ways that you could create that, the ways that you could make something happen. And I guarantee you're going to find some hidden surprises. Because just by sitting down and making an inventory of all the things that you can do, all the avenues that are there, if you just sit down and give yourself a minute, 60 seconds of sitting down and thinking of other alternatives. Just think of other alternatives. Don't even make the initial response of them having money, you not having money, or them having some resource that you don't have. Don't even make it wrong. Just say, okay, so how could I do it without that? Just ask yourself that question. And write it down. Don't try to do it in your head, because when you try to do these things in your head, differing ideas are going to start bouncing off each other, and you're probably going to lose your trail of thought. But if you write it down, and you start writing down ideas, what I like to do is I write them down as a bullet list. So it's not a paragraph or something, but just different possibilities. And once I write a bunch of them down, then I start to critique them. To think of like, okay, which of these could I combine? Which of these are nonsense? Which of these are for a later date? Which are applicable today? And so on and so forth. And what that creates is an excellent way for you to tap into your own resourcefulness and look at, with the resources that you have, how you play that hand that you are dealt. Don't spend your time trying or wishing for a different hand. Play the one that you're dealt. This is how you figure out how to play it. You have to make an inventory of what are the cards that you do have. And then you can go and play. That's it for me today. Till next time, this is Juan Morales signing out. I'll see you on the next one.